this series of videos, we spent 61 days overlanding through Namibia, Zambia, Zimbabwe and Botswana. In this episode, we visit the Liuwa Plains and Kafue National Parks in Zambia, but first we must cross the border at Katima Mulilo, Sesheke. Crossing into Zambia requires quite a number of steps and documents, but the process actually goes surprisingly smoothly and quickly. We just at each station ask the official which one to go to next. The one important thing to note is that they require a document stating that your car is not stolen. This is variously referred to as a police clearance, a not stolen slip, or a vehicle verification report. For details, do check on the Tracks for Africa forum. We then proceeded to Liuwa Plains, staying at Kabula Lodge and shopping at Mongu along the way. Road conditions in Zambia are quite variable. An excellent road can suddenly turn into an extended family of potholes. After crossing over the new bridge at Kalabo, the road suddenly turned into a multiplicity of sandy tracks. It seems that when the tracks become so deep that the bottom of your vehicle starts dragging along, people simply start a new track and the process repeats, as can be seen on these satellite photos. It's a bit like the checkout lines at the supermarket. You always feel as if you've chosen the wrong track. We stayed our first night at Kwale campsite, being the closest to the entrance gate. The next day we had our first ever sighting of Oribi, Afrikaans Oribi. Oribi are slightly larger than steenbok and have a longer, thinner neck, but the easiest way to distinguish them is by the black tail. Here is a steenbok for comparison. We also started seeing some blue wildebeest. Blue wildebeest calves are able to run very soon after being born. On this day, we relocated from Kwale to Lukumabumbu. There are some villages inside the national park, and you may encounter pedestrians literally in the middle of nowhere. Mukulabumbu campsite, Liuwa Plains. Towards the north, shared ablutions with hot shower and flush toilets. And lots of flies and very bothersome midges. But we came prepared. Luckily, there were no tsetse flies in Liuwa Plains. In Liuwa Plains, there's almost something like soot mixed in with the sand. So if you're wearing Crocs or flip-flops, your feet are likely to get quite black. We encountered a small bat in the ablutions. During the night, we had a couple of visitors. The stick insect also wanted to hitch a ride. Liuwa Plains is certainly not a misnomer. It is very flat, with plains stretching as far as the eye can see. We relocated to the Hyena campsite and found a hard-working dung beetle along the way. Katima campsite, Liuwa Plains. Shared ablutions, sufficient shade. During our visit, the area around Katima was where we encountered the largest concentrations of animals. The blue wildebeest were just starting to congregate for the annual migration. Liuwa Plains is said to have the second largest wildebeest migration in Africa. It was very hot, with temperatures above 40 degrees centigrade. So animals used the water holes to cool down. We almost felt like joining them. Before being reintroduced, lions were absent from the park for a long time. During this time, hyena were the top predator, and Liuwa Plains is still very well known for its large hyena population. And the hyenas seem to be large and well fed. On the GPS, this palm tree is shown as Lone Palm. I'm not quite sure why. We found a large number of pelicans at this waterhole, and also a few spoonbills. After a swim, it's time for a nap. On the way to Kwale, where we spent our last night, we saw some Cape buffalo. We also saw lion tracks, but no lions. We made an early start the next morning. Good thing we did, as although much of the road to Kafue was in good condition, there was a 70-kilometer stretch around Kahoma where we averaged 26 kilometers per hour. take a look at the number of cell phone booths. Booths for the same company are right next to each other. How do they all make a living? Roy's Kafue camp is situated on the banks of the Kafue River, very close to the main road at Hook Bridge. It is outside the park, so it has the benefit that you do not have to pay a park fee for staying there. Ablutions are decent. On the downside, although there are quite a number of trees scattered around, they are very small, so finding a shady spot is a bit of an issue. All in all, I would not recommend it as more than a stopover on your way into or out of the park. The Kasabushi campsite is situated on the banks of the Kafue River. No grass, but sufficient shade, and the ablutions are the star attraction. Sufficient space to hang your towels and fresh clothes, and a mirror. There are also hand basins and flush toilets with toilet paper supplied. Puku are very scarce south of the Zambezi, and we've never actually seen one before. Fully grown, they are about the size of an impala, but slightly heavier. The horns are sturdier and shorter than those of the red Lechwe, but heavily ridged with smooth tips. Only the males have horns. Kango Loop, Kafue National Park. Kasabushi in the south, we went to Bongololo campsite, part of Moji Lodge in the north. This is the closest campsite to the Busanga Plains, a must-visit area. Tsetse flies were a major problem and made photography difficult. Their bites are painful and itches for days. And they're tough. Don't think you can swat them like a fly. You have to catch them and squash them. They are attracted by movement and fly along or ride along on vehicles. If you stop at a sighting and roll down a window, they will enter and immediately start biting. This is Alta's traditional solution for tsetse flies. We were told that the smoke from smoldering elephant dung chases the tsetse flies away. Maybe it does. It's likely to chase everything away. Unfortunately, the environmentally friendly elephant dung solution did not work. The solution at Kasabushi, which provided a supersized can of doom to spray your vehicle, was much more effective. The Busanga Plains area of the park was very productive. It makes for a nice day trip from Bongololo. We even saw 3 different leopards on one day. We saw red Lechwe in the swamp, along with some snoozing lions. And then, on the way out of the park, our best sighting in Kafue. African wild dogs, also known as painted dogs or painted wolves, are very successful hunters, measured by the percentage of hunts that end in success. Kills are often stolen by lions or hyenas. They are Africa's most endangered large carnivore. Conservation efforts are hampered by the fact that they need a very large range. They have an interesting social structure, with only the alpha female breeding and the rest of the pack helping to take care of the pups, regurgitating meat for pups staying at the den, and even for adults that stayed behind to guard the pups or may have been injured. When pups are old enough to go along on a hunt, they are often allowed to feed first. Coat patterns differ from dog to dog and can be used to identify individuals. They are very social and engage in elaborate greeting rituals, which one field guide describes as involving a lot of mouthing, nuzzling and running around in circles. They are probably the predator we most like to see, with leopards a close second. In the next episode, we have our first ever sighting of Sitatunga, also known as water kudu. And we see millions and millions of bats in the Kasanka National Park. That was one of the highlights of our trip. If you are interested to see how the rest of our trip through Zambia, Zimbabwe and Botswana develops, do consider subscribing. And thanks for watching.